Today we're going to cover all of the fossil structures in Cobblemon 1.5. Like for instance, this one. Okay, just kidding, that one's actually a ruin structure. We're going to focus on the fossils. Like for instance, this one. This is an eroded pillar, and that's a crustle. They spawn in all forms of badlands. Oh, and you may have noticed in the distance the new kind of terracotta sunstone. Yeah, these are pretty cool too, huh? I'm currently flying around the Cobblemon tutorial world, a world that you can download and witness all of the great builds and secrets that the Cobblemon build team have put in here just for you. And I built this one. I call it the Temple of Tumble. More on that another time. If you download the official Cobblemon mod pack, then you will get this with it. It'll say Cobbled Farms in your saves, and you'll be able to access this world and be placed right on that bridge behind me. If you choose to get the mod pack and enjoy this world, then make sure you take a look at the books. They'll walk you through the many features of Cobblemon 1.5. Before we head out into the open world, the naturally generated terrain and structures, let's take a quick look at the fossil wing of the Cobbled Museum. Here you'll find immersive exhibits that will share with you the archaeological findings that have been so far discovered within Cobblemon. For instance, you can see behind me the rooted pit carries within it the root fossil, a fossil for Lileep and Cradily. And this, my friends, is exactly what it looks like. Let's see what the museum has to say about the root fossil. Just for example, the prehistoric rooted pit. Our paleontologists came across this unusual pit while making their way through a fairly dense swamp. After carefully uncovering the root fossil from the mud, we learned this fossil is of the Pokémon Lileep. This Pokemon, along with its evolution Cradily, liked to disguise itself as a flower on the sea floor to lure in any prey. Our researchers, don't mind the rats, we're contacting pest control. Exterminator is here. Bye, Rat-a-tag. Good quick attack. Excellent effects there with the particles and all that, but he's cold. Look at that. Look at those eyes. Unfeeling, unmoving, emotionless. Okay, badass. Honestly, just badass. Oh my god, the little head movements too. Our researchers are still looking into why this root fossil and several others were found in this swamp. One ongoing hypothesis is the swamp these fossils were found in were once a deep ocean that slowly turned into a swamp over millions of years. As you can see, if you were to visit the Cobbled Museum, then you would get the information you need right from the source. Right from the relics of old, the stories of paleontologists and archaeologists who have contributed to the Cobblemon mod. But for now, you'll have to listen to me, which good luck with that. It is critical that you don't break any suspicious sand or gravel that you haven't already figured out what's inside of it, or you may lose the rarest piece of loot to a simple accident. Within each structure, there is one piece of rare suspicious sand or suspicious gravel, and within each structure there can be up to 5 uncommon pieces. Any more pieces of sus sand or sus gravel will be in the common loot pool. What this means for our fossil structures is that each one will have its own fossil that is assigned to it in the rare category. This is the fossil you can reliably find in that structure. But you also have 5 chances at an uncommon item, which could turn out to be a fossil, or something like Vivichoke seeds or revival herbs. I'd say you're ready to explore. First up, the prehistoric birch tree. This structure always contains a plume fossil, but can also contain a skull, fossilized bird, or fossilized drake. It can be found in any biome that's properly tagged to contain birch trees. The prehistoric Dripstone Oasis. It contains the claw fossil, but can also hold the Helix fossil and the fossilized fish. It is rather predictably found within Dripstone caves or any other properly tagged Dripstone biome. The prehistoric Anhydroagate. This water-filled structure contains the fossilized fish, and can also contain a helix or dome fossil. It can be one of the more challenging to find in lush caves because it can be completely surrounded by stone. The prehistoric eroded pillar contains the jaw fossil. It is found in red sand biomes, and sometimes impressively in caves like this, and can also contain the armor, helix, and sail fossil. Hi, Skarmory. The prehistoric frozen pond, the ancient and well-preserved resting place of a sail fossil. It can also contain a cover fossil, an old amber, or a fossilized dino, and it can be found in glacial biomes, or those where ice will naturally form. The prehistoric frozen spike. It reliably contains the fossilized dino, but can also provide a cover fossil, sail fossil, or old amber. This is another above-ground structure that can generate within glacial biomes, or those naturally ice-forming biomes. The prehistoric hydrothermal vents. Once a home to Kabuto and now its ancient remains. It can also contain the root fossil, cover fossil, and fossilized fish. This structure can be found in temperate oceans, and like many other ocean structures, can be found by its magma blocks. The prehistoric lush den. This, our first jungle fossil of the video, contains the jaw fossil, and can also contain old amber, armor fossil, and fossilized dino. Like many Cobblemon structures, this one is best found from the ground. Searching through the leaves and vines on foot may be your best bet. The prehistoric Mossy pond is another structure that contains the claw fossil, or Anorith. It can also contain the plume, skull, and fossilized bird. This structure, like the anhydro agate, can be found in lush caves. Let's travel back to the jungle for the prehistoric mud pit. This structure contains the skull fossil, and it is much more visible than many other structures. It can also contain the jaw fossil, armor fossil, and fossilized drake. The prehistoric oak tree. This is the second of 3 trees and contains the old amber. You can also find within it the skull fossil, fossilized bird, and fossilized dino. If you're in a biome that contains oak trees, then you might just find it there. The prehistoric powdered deposit can be a tricky structure to find. Composed mainly of powdered snow and bone blocks, amidst the snowy biomes it spawns in, it can blend in very well. This structure always contains a sail fossil, but can also have an armor fossil, fossilized bird, and fossilized dino. The prehistoric preserved skeleton contains all Gen 8 fossils, the bird, dino, drake, and fish. However, it can also contain cover, claw, and helix fossils. It is found in all properly tagged frozen ocean biomes, or those oceans which contain ice. The prehistoric rooted pit is found in swamp biomes and with a root fossil. It can also contain a plume, armor, and fossilized drake. It can often be recognized by the combination of mangrove roots, gravel, and mud. The prehistoric sandy den. It contains the helix fossil, or Omanyte. It can also contain the root fossil, armor fossil, and fossilized dino, and is found in any biome containing sand. Our final tree structure, the prehistoric spruce tree. It contains the old amber, but can also sometimes contain a plume fossil, sail fossil, and fossilized bird. This one is once again predictably found within biomes containing spruce trees. The prehistoric submerged impact is clearly a portent of how the Cobblemon developers intended to wipe out the dinosaurs, or the Pokemon, whatever. It contains a fossilized fish and sometimes a claw covered in root. You get it. Ocean floor. Look for the magma blocks. Just give me the sunset, okay? That's better. The prehistoric submerged spike contains the cover fossil. It can also sometimes contain the root or claw fossils, or a fossilized fish, and much like the preserved skeleton, is found within frozen oceans. The prehistoric Sunscorched den. Along your journeys in the Badlands, you may find this structure containing the armor fossil. And if you're lucky, you might find a dome fossil, jaw fossil, or fossilized drake. The prehistoric Sunscorched remains. These contain the fossilized drake, and can also contain a root fossil, jaw fossil, or skull fossil. Is anyone out there? It can be found in biomes containing red sand, just like the last one which I said Badlands for, which is true, but it's really all red sand biomes. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing to you the prehistoric suspicious mob. You get it. There's a fossilized bird in there, sometimes other fossils, namely the plume. I get that I'm supposed to be providing you with information here, and I am. It's on screen. Prehistoric underwater fissure, you know? And it has, what was it? I went back. It's a cover fossil, but it also has claw, root fossils, and a fossilized fish, potentially. I want you all to know that it's taking everything in my power to not leave the rest of this video just silent, as if I gave up. and just didn't do it. But we'll finish. The prehistoric vibrant hydrothermal vents. Containing the cover fossil, this structure can also contain a helix fossil, a root fossil, or a fossilized fish, and is found exclusively in deep ocean biomes. That is definitely incorrect. It is instead found in warm ocean biomes. You did it. You either solved the riddle inside the Temple of Tumble, or perhaps you actually found one of those structures I just taught you about. Either way, what you've got to do now is create for yourself a resurrection machine, with a restoration tank on one side, adjacent to it, a fossil analyzer, and on top of that, a data monitor. Just slide in your fossil, and then find yourself something that can provide it some biological fuel. And just like that, life, finds a way.